Hello, hello, hello. Well, it's not Tuesday, but I am here. And I want to apologize to my mods and to all my subscribers because I keep having to put shows off, but life has been really crazy. And I am just happy that I even get here, at least tonight, to get you updated on quite a few cases. Believe me, we've got a lot to talk about. But I'm feeling fine. I'm doing okay. It's just crazy stuff going on in the household. It has to be taken care of. And everything's okay. It's just a matter of timing and priorities, and I'm sure you all understand. And so, for everybody joining, thank you. And thank you for tolerating the craziness in the schedules. I tried to do the update, um, and I realized I didn't get one out posted on the community channel. I actually wrote one out and forgot to press the post button, and that does happen. Yes. I'll get sidetracked. And so it was like too late to post it because it was over and done with, by the time I realized I never hit the button. But I do appreciate your patience. In Well, we've got a lot to cover. There's been a lot. Uh, we've been keeping up with everything that's going on. It got slow for a little while there, but well, not so much anymore. There's been quite a bit going on. Um, and well, I guess we should just get started. Hey, Jen and Mrs. Cassandra and April. Hey, April. Hope you're doing okay. Grace, I'm doing okay. Like I said, I'm glad to see you here. First in, very nice of you to come into mod right away. I hope everybody's doing okay. Um, it's been the fall's coming. It's now November here in the States. We had elections yesterday. And actually those elections affected one of the cases that I'm going to bring up. But we've got a lot to talk about. Hey, Pete, good to see you. Hey, 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 hey. Let me well, let me just get started here. It says today I kind of advertised this as, did you really need to go there? You know, because the first two things I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Well, here's my agenda, and it's a lot, and it's a lot. And in the beginning, the first two are going to be a little rough, okay? And then we'll go through the other ones. It's not so bad, okay? But for the first time only, I'm going to give my, if you showed up in chat, it's your moment because I'm going to give you the opportunity to actually shut me down. If it gets to be too much, you just tell me, Bear, stop it. Just stop. Move on. I'm giving you that power, people, and I will listen to you. Y'all know I'm stubborn and I don't often listen to anyone, uh, contrary to my own best interest. But I give you this power today. If you're in the chat and you just at me, tell me, knock it off, just move on. Let's get going, because like I've got feels about these first two. And if you've been following me for a couple of years doing true crime, I think you know what they are. I have strong notions, let's say, on boundaries in things that, when things go a little too far. And well, lately, if you've been paying attention to the true crime community, Well, all hell is broken out, and things have gotten like to be way, way, way too much. Now, I give everybody their right to handle their channels the way they want and to do true crime the way they want. But lately, some areas of true crime aren't even doing true crime. The only crimes that are being committed or covered are the ones against each other. Go in real life, filing all kinds of orders and stuff against each other, digging into each other's past, posting each other's personal business everywhere, personal attacks. I mean, is that really crime? And are you allowed to call yourself a true crime channel? Like when you started out covering missing children and missing people and investigations, and then all of a sudden you're attacking each other like a bunch of hungry wolves. What the hell is that? I know you don't have an answer for me, but that's where I'm at lately. With what little time I have to socialize out here with anyone in the true crime community, like it gets to be like, who do you want to actually go watch anymore when all this craziness is going on? It's just insanity, I say. It's insanity. you know, Mrs. Cassandra, that is good news that we've got 50% candy off at almost all of the retail stores. She mentioned Walmart. I know even the pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens and all of them, they all have it on sale too. All online everywhere. Hmm. Yes, Mrs. Cassandra, that's one of the things that is going to come up. But the first thing we're going to talk about is Barry Morphew. Now, for those of you that may know, I've been covering this case since like 21. Suzanne Morphew went disappearing on Mother's Day. There was no body until last year. Uh, get Barry Morphew was brought up on charges. Her husband previously, um, for this. It was a horrific case. That was all circumstantial. One of the biggest, affidavits for arrest that I've ever read. 148 pages, I believe it was, all circumstantial evidence. The investigators, the law enforcement definitely was leaning as him being the primary and only suspect, and they had good reason to. There was a lot of suspicious stuff, and there still is. However, there was no body. But the prosecutor in that case, Miss Stanley, actually, who ended up losing her license, losing her job, in having multiple cases come under review for her really misguided attempts at justice, to really got the case all practically shut down. Barry Morphew, the case was dismissed. Barry Morphew then filed a civil suit against everybody involved. But lo and behold, new prosecutor now in the reins, and they discovered the body while looking for another missing person. Um, and they did advanced testing on the body of Suzanne Morphew. When it was discovered, it was identified to be her. And now some pretty damning evidence against Mary Morphew, new evidence, has come forward, and he's been charged again. Now he could have been charged before when the case was dismissed. It was dismissed without like they so that they could file it again. So like he was still at risk. But recently he was arrested and arraigned, and he was actually just recently let out on bail. And he was let out on bail, which he was put in for millions of dollars at first, with no bond being accepted. But then after briefs in negotiation, the judge decided to allow bond to be made. So he came up with the $300,000 through outside sources, which they are calling, through his attorneys, supporters. Yes, supporters of Barry Morphew, that he could go out on bail. He was wearing an ankle monitor. He can only leave his home for work and or court appearances. Very limited. He's not allowed to leave the state. And they actually put in writing that he's not allowed to travel in vehicles that aren't registered in a false name, or to change the plates, because he did that in another state and he was using another name when he was arrested. Yes, he was. He was living a life over there as somebody else. Now, I can understand wanting to do that. I think you guys can too. If you've been accused of your wife's murder and everybody thinks you did it, and where you're going to go without people side-eyeing you all the time, he has the support of his daughters, although only one has been showing up to the bond hearing, to all the other hearings, and to the recent hearing on November 3rd. But the reason we are talking about him today is that he did have a hearing yesterday, and only only certain media are going to be allowed to report on it. Only certain. And that's because, well, there was actually live streaming through Colorado. Colorado is a transparency state. They believe in transparency. They allow you to watch the court hearings through their live streams. However, they got a big disclaimer on there. You're not allowed to record them or publicize them without prior permission of the court. And so certain units like credentialed news organizations and such got permission. There's one that I am going to be able to post for you. The Alamosa Journal or Alamosa Citizens are is allowed. They actually have put out the hearing, which was very short yesterday. Um, but we're not going to be able to reproduce that for you in any way, nor are we going to be able to see a live trial as it stands now, unless one of the bigger stations covers it. And then we're not going to be able to stream it on top of that because you need special credentials and you need special flow. And all of this is because some yahoos in YouTube true crime, and I say yahoos, and I say selfish, disrespectful, unrespecting of the law or a court order by a judge that don't just disregard the rules and don't think they apply to them, who were named actually in the judge's order. And I'm not going to bother to speak their names because they don't deserve any credit. They actually deserve a lot of pushback. But based on what I heard, it seems to be pretty dangerous to even. Well, you know what? The heck with it. I will mention their names. It was JLR Investigations that was named in the judge's court order. Now, I'm not slamming them. The judge named them specifically because the judge received a recording that they made, which even included the recording where it says, "Do not record this hearing." The judge was pissed. The judge then looked at the chat and saw how they were actually talking about the defendant, Barry Morphew, who, whether you think he's guilty or not, he still deserves a fair trial and he still is presumed innocent until the jury says otherwise. Well, when the judge saw in his chat actual threats, the judge is like, no way. Okay. And he wasn't the only one. I don't want to think that this one account, JLR Investigations, did this. There were other ones too. But that's the one that's named in the ruling. And you know what? He thinks he's bending. Oh, well, it's his first, it's his right because, full transparency. No, the judge has the right on how much transparency you get. And transparency evolves in the courtroom. So if you want your transparency, get your ass into the courtroom. But now you've ruined it for everybody else. And can you tell I'm a little heated under this? Because I've been following this for 3 years. And well, I know that's the way the cookie crumbles. And I'm just going to have to take my lumps. It is what it is. But thanks a hell of a lot, Yahoo. Your selfishness is ruining this. And also, other people who put the name of this channel when they were going to talk about this issue, and I hope they don't get upset, but I'm going to mention Gavin Fish. He's got a great YouTube channel for true crime. He sticks to the information. He doesn't get all drama. He's got a great voice. He's nice to listen to. I don't always agree with him, but you know what? I really appreciate the way he does true crime. You know why? He stays in his lane. He stays in the lane of true crime where we don't interfere with the investigation. We don't interfere with what happens in the courtroom. We don't call the defendants. We don't call the attorneys. Like, we don't mess with the justice, okay? We let it play out the way it is. And we actually just let everybody watch it, talk about it, and learn about the process with respect for the process. So thank you, Gavin Fish. But Gavin Fish got harassed by email from supporters of JLR. Now, in JLR's defense, there was no emails from him. But also, I didn't hear, and forgive me if he did make a statement, I have no record of it yet, and I will back this up if I do hear of one. But he didn't condemn anybody who jumped in Gavin Fish's emails and threatened him with doxing his daughter and exposing him and going in real life, because how dare he say anything against JLR when he's actually named in a public document and out there saying he's transparency in the court. I have a right to record. Doesn't think he did anything wrong. Okay, that's all I have to say about it. Nobody in true crime should be threatened for actually stating just public documents and facts. Okay, that's crazy. And if you guys in my chat did that, or any of my subscribers did that, and I knew about it, I'd be out here making a statement saying I don't condone that. You shouldn't be doing that. It isn't what I stand for. And what the hell are you thinking? But no, people are jumping in Mr. Fisher's emails and threatening him and threatening to expose his daughter for some made up stuff or whatever and go in real life. And I think that's bullshit. And I wanted to say so. And I'm saying it loudly. And I hope you all join me. Okay. Why doesn't the bear have special credentials? I'm not a registered journalist, reporter, and I'm not a really, really big true crime channel like Law and Crime. I don't have lawyers on board, all of that. I'm a little bear. I'm a little bear who's gaining subscribers and views, but I'm still a nobody in true crime. I mean, come on, Grace. Nobody knows who the hell I am. I just don't have the credentials to be able to cover it. I wish I did, because I would stay in my lane and we would watch the process like we do. Y'all know we just try to let the process go the way it is. And as much as I think, perhaps based on the evidence, that the prosecution has a damn good case against Barry Morphew, I still believe in his right to have a fair trial. And not only did JLR kind of mess this up for a lot of us in true crime who like to cover the trials, he could have messed it up for Barry Morphew, and that's what the judge was worried about. And he messed it up for actually the public in general. He's got a balance now. Barry Morphew's right to a fair trial and not being under prejudice, because all of those threats and all of those comments that the judge read led the judge to believe that the jury pool was going to be tainted by how everything was being reported. And that's a crying shame. That's when it goes too far. I know everybody has a right to do what they want on their channels, and I'm for that. I am. But a little common sense, people. Justice needs to be served. You're not helping Suzanne Morphew or her family when you interfere with the process. You are hurting the system, not helping it. The best thing that we can do is watch the system and hope for improvements, vote for improvements, okay? But to interfere individually, well, that's just Yahoo shit. That's just entitlement that you're not entitled to, in my humble opinion. So I hope you're not too upset, and I hope I don't get a whole bunch of crap from people, but I'll be ready for it. Listen, the butt hurt need not reply. So any of the supporters for that channel who did this, you want to jump in you can threaten me with anything you want. You're going to be the ones showing your ugly ass, because I got no problem putting your crap out there if you send me anything. If you send me anything, expect your emails, your names, and the channel that you are so far defending to be put under fire for it, because I don't hear the channel condemning these actions, which means the channel may be supporting it, as far as I know, because I don't hear them condemning the actions of threats being made in their name. And I will tell you, I wouldn't sit by any of my subscribers, as loyal as you are or not, to be threatening anybody in my name for any reason. I would feel I have to condemn you for it. And I think you all understand that, right? At least I hope so. At least I hope so. So, well, thank you, Mrs. Cassandra. That's quite flattering. Claire, stay in your lane. I am staying in my lane. Am I not, Pete? I mean, do you think I went out of my lane? I don't think so. I don't think so. It is my lane. I'm for justice in the system. Okay. It's not perfect, but it's the one we got. It's the law. do you have do you have a preference for whose name we do threaten people in? Yeah, nobody's but your own. If you're going to threaten somebody, use your own name and don't do it for me and don't do it for anybody. As a matter of fact, don't do it. Don't do it at all. Smoky, we have a bear in the lane, but she's stay a bear on the road, but she's staying in her lane. Okay, okay, I get it. Okay, all right. So there's enough about that. Anyway, here's the let's get to the actual facts of what happened on the other day in the court. It was very, very short because, well, this hearing for Barry Morphew was scheduled where he was supposed to plea. Okay. They are getting their discovery. His lawyer, Mr. Bellin, oh, by the way, who is no longer a public defender for him, who is now a private one because apparently he has funds. So that's all switched around, which I found very curious. Where's all this money coming from? Hmm. It always has been kind of curious as to where Barry Morphew made his money. Like it wasn't really construction and landscaping, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I could never figure it out. What? Anyway, when it comes to the hearing that we just had on the 3rd, I just want to get up here and get everything is in oi. Okay. At this hearing, okay, not only did the judge lay out that there would not be any live streaming, the defense was very upset about what was going on and they wanted the cameras out anyway. um they also said that they were working through the voluminous discovery and they aim to be ready for arraignment and plea by mid-January. Okay. Now the judge was like, yo, like today is supposed to be today. Okay. And I get that. There is a lot of evidence and all to go through. He wasn't ready to plea. And, in a way, I can understand why the defense wants to delay it because they want to go through everything they have and they want to really weigh out what he should plea. Because if the evidence is that damning, it might be great in the beginning to actually make a deal, before things get going. Um, and register a plea and a deal at the same time. But hey, worse things have happened, right? There wouldn't be a trial, but there would be justice. Well, we'll see. It depends. But they're going through everything, and they asked for a continuance. Well, our judge, our judge Amanda Hopkins, who I have to give her some credit, like she ain't messing around. Like she's really upset for the people in for transparency about the live streaming. Like she's really annoyed and wrote a 10-page order that it is public. It is on the Colorado site, which I can post for you in a second, uh, once I gather it. um, but she's really annoyed, our judge. She seems very straightforward. Amanda Hopkins said, listen, defense, I get you need more time, but this is the last continuance. And she repeated it twice. This is the last continuance. Okay. She made it clear that next hearing will be the last continuance. Okay. And that our trial date is expected to be firmed up for summer of 2026. Okay. So we may still see the trial, but you're not going to see it through my channel unless things change, because restreaming of the credential channels has been forbidden so far. Um, Usually, when other channels get permission to stream and then we restream them, if we're adding commentary and all, it's not like a big deal. But with a judge's order that says that you need permission to record it or stream it at all, it makes it a little rough. Okay. Now, the defense has a point. They have very valid concerns of widespread media coverage. This is a very popular case. Like I've been on it for years and years. So many other channels have been on it for years and years. People have reported every little thing about it. So it is got a high profile, you know. And when a case is that high profile, there is a risk of undermining Barry Morphew's right to a fair trial or the process itself. We've all seen it happen. Many of us have stepped back and watched some real circuses. I mean, absolutely clown filled circuses of trials that have been high profile that, well, things got skewed one way or the other, making you wonder why we do the transparency thing. Well, the transparency thing is written in for both parties is to keep it on the up and up, to make sure that Barry Morphew is judged by his peers, that everyone involved in the justice system is allowed to see what is going on, to keep it fair and equitable, and make sure that everybody is judged by the same standard. You know, oh, there, it's a fine balance. It's a fine balance. But he's out on bail. His one daughter was at the hearing, not the other, and that is the same as when he was bailed out. Actually, also, let me get you the link to the site. Hold on one second. Wait, go. I'm going into my Discord. For those of you that are members, you know we have a room for every case that we are following that has. Let's just see if I can post these now. Okay. I believe this is the Colorado site with all of the free filings on it in the judge's order in regards to the judge's order in regards to the live streaming of any of the hearings or the trial is in there, as long as all and the charges and everything else from before, for those of you that actually like to read these kind of things, you know. Mm. He's not in jail, you know. Trial date summer next year, be there or be in jail. Exactly. He's going to have to be, like, he's wearing his little monitor and everything, and he's allowed to work. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with all of the filings. I will be reporting on this regularly with the filings. I'll be watching the public transparency site. It's still a high profile case. They are still, as of now, uploading the documents that are filed. They may have to, you know, redact some things. You know how privacy goes with certain issues, but so far everything has been there. Um, I do plan on doing a single show on just Barry Morphew in everything that they have so far to date that we have collected over the last few years. Remembering that some of the evidence we'll all know about that has been talked about publicly may or may not get into the trial based on all of the discovery that goes back and forth and everything that gets actually requested to be held back by the defense or gets, you know, filed motions on to withhold, and we will see. Well, that's what I have on Barry Morphew, and you know, it's a little disappointing for me, and for many of you who are looking forward to watching these hearings. For now, I can give you a sight of the last couple of hearings um, that they had. Uh, that actually did the live stream of the last hearing. This one from here, let me give you the link. This is November 3rd. And this is a recording from an approved site in Colorado. Or they did the last three. They're very short. They are only the hearing. So instead of me recording it and putting it out with my commentary, I just have the links for you and I want to share it with you. Those of you who are not part of the Discord, but by the way, it's very easy to be part of the Discord. You need to either join the channel at the new rate of 99 cents for a month, and then you can get into the Discord for YouTube, or be a Patreon member, or follow on Twitch or Kick. And if you follow on Twitch or Kick, hit my Discord. ID, which is ClaireBear5274, and send me a message on what name you're following me under over there, and I will send you an invite. Okay, so once you become a member, if you go to the members only posts on my community tab, you will find a link to the Discord, and please come on over. If you're already a member of Patreon or or a member of the YouTube channel and you haven't joined the Discord, also just hit that link and come on over and we will get you all set up. Even if you're a gifted member, you are welcome. So definitely, if you like true crime and you want to hit more of the documentations in the videos, we have a lot more information and discussion in there that yet you might be interested in. Thank you very much, Shill, for posting the link. And yes, I agree. This guy is another complete. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, I would agree. I would agree. Definitely. Okay. So, all right. Next one. This one also is making me a little bit crazy. Now, one of you posted about the 9 hour live. Well, that 9 hour live was done by Hidden True Crimes, Lauren Matthias, claiming to have a stalker because she filed a restraining order and got a temporary restraining order against a person who, well, her name is out there, so I don't think I'm invading her privacy by mentioning her name is Christina. Don't know her last name, don't even know her TikTok channel, because I'm not interested in following this as a tit for tat. This doesn't have any relevancy to actual crimes because no crime has been committed at this point. And I'll tell you why I say that. When I get to the end of it, you'll see why I say that. Yes, there was a temporary restraining order filed ex parte without the participation of Christina by Lauren Matthews, where she lives in Utah. And when it finally went down to all of the things back and forth, well, she wasn't allowed to go to CrimeCon. She was trying to shut her down. It was all about being threatened, about exposing some conversations that this is allegedly, from what I'm gathering from all of the videos that have been done, and this is from Lauren Matthews' own 9 hour live and her We Respond video, that this is all about conversations she has had and text messages she has had with others who used to work with her or were friendly with her in true crime community while she was talking about others, including victims and families. And it was upsetting to her. She's having, a hard time with it. Like, claims to be practically having a nervous breakdown over the whole thing. It's affecting her husband and her child because she's just freaking out. It is detrimental to her reputation. So I can understand that. We've talked about this before. I understand why she's so upset. However, I cannot condone the way she's handling it. She has recently not only tried to file the restraining order in her 9 hour live after dropping the restraining order at the hearing, which was supposed to be to make it permanent, where Christina was going to be bringing witnesses and evidence as to why it's not stalking. She actually backed down, blamed it on law and crime because they got permission to video it. Okay. While she then did a 9 hour live and said more than anybody would have said about anything, including divulging things about her child, divulging things about her husband that nobody really needed to know. Basically, it was, I think, her premise was to grab back her power and control of the narrative. But what ended up happening is a snowball effect that just made her look worse because, she dropped the restraining order and then referred to the woman as her stalker through the whole thing. And well, that's not how true crime works. And that's not how anybody that has respect for true crime works. I mean, you may feel like she's a stalker, but you don't get to call her a stalker if you don't even have a restraining order on her and you've decided to drop all the charges. Um, and when the judge actually tells you that it's not actually stalking because somebody doesn't like you and talks about you, which is basically what Christina has done from another state. She is not in Lauren's face. Most of the interactions, as we learned through the filings and through actually Lauren's own statements and the statements of others who are reading word for word the documents, Almost all of the interactions started with Lauren. That's not stalking. I know you're in fear of everything that's going to come out, but there's a better way to handle this. Instead of running away from it, which you were doing with trying to shut everything down, take some accountability. People say things out of turn. When you're a journalist, a reporter, or you're dealing with true crime, you have conversations with people that you think are going to be private, and you may say things. But when they do come out and somebody threatens you with public, well, if you want to take their power away, own up to it. Go to the people you talked about, explain the situation, apologize, and take your lumps. You will look stronger. You will look actually mentally healthier. You will actually look like you got something going on there, like a backbone in some integrity and a reason to be in true crime. But you don't get to call yourself a journalist when you cross the lines like this and then try to pretend you didn't. You cannot play both sides of the road. You can play all goody goody, all health and life, and I'm all for everybody, and I'm just love and light, and I love everybody as your face on YouTube. But if you get caught being a straight, cold hearted business so and so, which I admit in YouTube and true crime, most of you have to be, including myself behind the scenes, you can't let people take advantage of you. You can't let people do shit to you. So you do have to draw a hard line. But if you're going to do that, own up to it, especially when the mask slips. Listen, her mask is off, and so is his. And well, there seems to be a lot of people who had problems with her, and we're just waiting for a moment to tell their stories. Because right now, she's getting it from all sides. And the reason she is because she's not taking accountability. And you all know how I feel about this. And I feel for her. I really do. She has a successful channel that's taken a hit. But now she wants people to pay to hear her true story behind a paywall, which is her right. Which is her right. If you're that big and that's how you're making your money, everybody knows it's like a marketing thing if you're going to treat it like a business. But don't come out here and say you're an advocate for the victims. Get caught with your pants down talking about the victims and then don't take accountability because what you're doing is losing all credibility. And if you really want to save this channel, your channel, I know you don't think you got a problem, but you eventually will because we know you like to throw the names around and it's great that you get these interviews and everything, and I'm not talking sour grapes here. I just don't do that stuff. It's not my bag. Like, I don't do it. I actually think it's wonderful that you do, that you give the victims a voice. That's wonderful. But if you still want that credibility and you want people to come to you and talk to you, you need to take some accountability. You need to step up. I don't know you personally, and I don't know anybody that is talking about the things you did to them personally. I know there's talk about Gigi from Lies and Alibis, how you did things behind the scenes to try to hold her back, how you have done many things to hold quite a few smaller channels or people that you might have felt threatened for getting the same deal as you. Business oriented stuff. I'm not saying it's illegal. It may not even be crossing lines. But if you're going to act like that, own up to it. Don't give these people something to say by hiding it from it. You're giving everybody more power to bring you down by not owning up to what you're doing. If it's straight business in true crime and running a channel and what a normal person would do, nobody likes competition. We all have to do things to secure your position in the market, especially when you get as big as her channel is. I can understand that. I think most of you can, right? As distasteful as it is, there is a business side to this, is there not? You know? But yeah, I don't know. Okay. All right. I understand that you have something to say about who I'm talking about, but we don't talk about them like personal life or insulting like that. We want to stick to what's going on with the case and just the fact that the ROs were filed in that. And the other part that I want to mention, because I'm going to cut this because like I don't want anybody like banned or anything like that, but we don't really support that kind of stuff. Thank you mods for handling it. Um they did do a respond after they got a lot of pushback for their 9-hour live. And one thing that they did do that I did want to mention that I found to be actually really in bad taste on their side, and I think like they were panicking or whatever, but they made a really bad move when a family member of the Daybells has a channel, and I believe it's the niece, and she brought Kay Woodward, the grandmother, and and the sister of Charles Vallow on, and they were talking and they were discussing what was going on in regards to Lauren Matthias and Hidden True Crime, in that she struck the channel in to silence them. So it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth and many others that are in true crime. Because if you say you're for the victims and you give them a voice, how dare you silence them just because they wanted to mention you? You mentioned them and made your money and your channel on them. I just I just think it's so hypocritical. It's so offensive. I mean, how dare you? How dare you strike that channel and silence their voice just because you didn't want anyone to know that they were the ones you were talking about? And this is what I mean by you're having to do all of these things that are making you look worse because you just won't stand on accountability and just say, "Hey, this is what happened and why." Take some accountability for the words and what you said. And so it isn't turned into something else out here, because what's happening now is it's just getting worse and worse, and I don't see it getting any better. Although they have moved on to try to cover some regular true crime, and she still has quite a following and quite a lot of defenders. And I'm not actually a fan because, to be honest, without the taking of accountability, I'm a little disappointed. Although I do understand how emotionally distraught she is, and she may not be thinking clearly, but I don't think she has anybody around her right now that's helping her think clearly. After watching the live with her husband, Dr. John, like he actually seems to be feeding into it. And I know he loves her and he's supporting her the best that he can, in his opinion, in how he goes. But with lack of accountability from either of them, and digging in and doubling down, well, it's a risk that I guess they have chosen to take, but I couldn't support because I don't see it getting any better. For whatever reason that for whatever reason, they just don't want to actually, they don't want to, they don't want to admit it's going on. Although what they're afraid of are actual these DMs and these conversations, and they're acting like they're real. So why pretend they don't exist? So anyway, that's all I have to say about that one. Um, thank you, mods, for being very patient. I know people feel very strongly about all of the people involved in what's going on with Hidden True Crime and Lauren Matthews and the ROs. The other thing that happened, after the striking on that channel was that they issued cease and desist to anyone that was posting. um I've only seen one letter out on Twitter to one particular party, and I believe they're in Florida, because in the letter the attorney mentions Florida law, that they want them to hold all the evidence of all of their lives and posts for future in case they get sued, and I want them to stop talking about Lauren. And this is what I think. I know that they're doing this to try to protect their business, but what it outcome is it's really hurting their credibility, especially here. It's a true crime community, and well, as even in the hearing when the audio was played of the last hearing, even the judge actually admonished the attorney and made a statement in regards to not using the legal system as a weapon, not weaponizing the legal system because to shut up someone that is saying things you don't like. And that's not what it's for. Now, those C&Ds, they're self-provided. They're not from the court. They're not an order. Okay. But they are threatening and intimidating to others, especially smaller channels than you. And if you want people to stop talking, stop giving them so much to say. That's it. Well, this has really infuriated me lately. And yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Yes, the cease and desist, the tool of an honest person that just wants everyone to be able to speak openly without fearing consequence. Exactly. Yeah. Just stop it. I get it. And it's hard. It's hard on both sides of this, whichever side you're on. I know there's those that support her and those that don't. And for those that don't, you can say that you don't. And you can say some facts in the chat, but what we don't do is disparage. We're not going to talk personally about any of the parties, pro or con. We don't do that. You know, the only reason I'm mentioning the channel name is it's public. It was a filing. They brought it up themselves, or I wouldn't have touched it with a 10-foot pole. You guys know how I feel about this stuff, you know? It just has made it very hard to do true crime lately because I hate the drama stuff, but it seems like there's nothing you can do. But this is more than drama to me. This is actually the basis of how I do true crime and what I love about it. And it's very disappointing for me. It's very discouraging to see all this going on in true crime this way. People going over the bounds, people just, taking things a little too far. Nobody's staying in their goddamn lane. I mean, you know, it's one thing to have a love of the system and a love of true crime. And, we're all nosy bees. We know that, right? I'll admit it too. We all want to know. But there are lanes, there are lines you don't cross. And if you do cross them and you do get caught, take accountability. It's a simple formula. We're all human. But I can tell you, it's a simple formula. We're all human, and it's the one that works. No one's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. You make a mistake, you take accountability. The chips fall where they may. Some will forgive you, some will you don't. But the effort is noted, and at least keep your credibility and integrity. Like, if you don't and you double down, you're losing 10 times as much. Yeah, some will say, yeah, that's nice, Bear. So easy for you to say. Believe me, I've been there. Been there, done that. Okay? It works. Okay? At least lets you sleep at night. At least will get you out of a situation like this one's in. It's not going to prevent people from leaving your channel. It's not going to prevent people from talking, but they will know where you stand. And a lot more people will have respect for you if you actually just own up to the bullshit. Exactly, Jean. Exactly. Hey, Maya. All right, let's move on to the next one. What you say? Unless anybody has anything else to say about that. Oh, where is my? Okay. All right. Oh, Courtney Clenney. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Courtney Clenney was having a hearing today. And of course, we don't get to hear the public about this hearing. But anyway, just to bring you up to date, we were supposed to have a trial in December for the murder that she's accused, second-degree murder of Christian Obonsali, her living boyfriend. They had a tumultuous relationship. She says she threw a knife from across the kitchen. And well, there was a knife in his chest when he was discovered, and he did bleed out, but it's at a downward angle. And well, the ME at her bail hearing actually testified that her story didn't match the body, which was one of the main reasons the judge did not allow bail. And I bring that up because recently, because of the other thing we talked about in the last time we talked about Courtney Clenney, where they have discovered that a neighbor got there before the police and had videotaped or took pictures of the scene and recorded some things. and was told by law enforcement to delete everything. And this was known to the prosecution, but was not disclosed to the defense. The defense, once again, prosecutorial misconduct, and is actually using that in their brief to actually have a new bail hearing. They want a new bail hearing because they want her out. Now, honestly, she's been in jail since what is it, April of 2022? That's a long time to sit there without a trial. However, wouldn't that be her first attorney's responsibility to actually file for timely trial, for speedy trial? If she did not get out on bail, mostly because being an OnlyFans model, she had access to be able to perform that with just a cell phone if she wanted, and she had made millions before. And just actually using her name again, the judge said, whether you have the money right now, since your father's been handling it and he bought you a house and he paid your debts, and you haven't been producing, but at any time you could, and it's pretty viable, you are a flight risk. There was also a history of abuse with the victim, and it was documented, and he had access to see it. And that also pertained in the bail hearing. Um, so no, she didn't get bail, and that was the judge's right, his prerogative. Now it's not mandatory to hold her like first degree, where she wouldn't be offered bail at all. Okay, but the offer of bond is up to the judge, depending on the evidence, depending on the charge, depending on the circumstances. In the circumstances where she didn't feel she was telling the truth, there was evidence of an abusive relationship. She could make a lot of money at any time, considered her flight risk, and kept her butt in jail. But, the defense has unsuccessfully tried to throw the prosecution team off already for the laptop incident, where there were documents on the laptop they may have seen or not seen or shouldn't have seen, but had access to. And they wanted the whole county prosecution team kicked, and wanted the whole case to another county. Now, that didn't fly with the judge. The judge felt the prosecution deal set up enough walls with the one person who saw the documents, who stepped down, didn't report them to anybody else, and is on the other side of the office. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody. He thought there was enough walls between the information that it was okay. But they did throw out the possibility of using anything they found on the laptop because it was compromised, which was fair of the judge, protecting Courtney Clenney's rights to privacy for conversations with her attorney and anything else, and it couldn't be used against her without also delaying the whole damn trial for another, what, 5 years by moving it to another county and starting all the whatever. So it was a good compromise by the judge, okay? Judge Cruz, I believe. And I don't know what she's going to do, whether this bail hearing happened or not. A lot of times these things are on the schedule, and then I don't find out till later, that like 2 days later they come off the schedule. Well, as far as we know, they were going to be discussing that today, and they have said that they need more time because things aren't being. She also has the motion to dismiss because of this prosecutorial misconduct that they laid out about these pictures that were taken and then deleted and not disclosed. I think the whole thing should have been disclosed to the defense so it wouldn't become an issue. But hey, they didn't get to talk to certain witness, and it's their right to complain about it. And they've got a whole motion to dismiss going forward. They've got now a continuance because the trial that was going to happen in December has been delayed, and we have no date. We have no date. So that's where we are with that. Now, whether or not that actually goes through, I don't know. But currently, we've got no new rulings or hearing updates, no matter where I search, and I have searched everywhere, all around Miami-Dade County, all of those public newspapers. Perhaps tomorrow or the next day it'll come out, and in our next update, I'll be able to give you more. But that's where we are with that. So let me just check the chat before I go on. you keep saying speedy trial. You're going to give me flashbacks. Is this the knife throwing case? Yes, it is. This is the one where we're all very much looking forward to the jury seeing the pig carcass knife throwing exhibition that was done that we all got to watch in a hearing. Uh, yeah, that was pretty amusing. Um, yeah, they're trying to prove that she could have thrown the knife at that downward angle into his chest enough to, you know, uh, from 10 feet away or so. When the medical examiner says it looks more like she was right there and just stabbed into him down. Well, yeah, they're trying to prove the opposite. Okay. Hello, Richard. Welcome. No, it's not mods only, but a lot of times when I don't plan my live, a lot of people don't talk in the chat. It's mods are here all the time, and they're also regulars that have been with me, actual subscribers that have earned that blue wrench um for being with me for years and years, really. But it wasn't, this live was not planned for very long, so there's not going to be a lot of the others here. We do get a lot of views after the fact, but welcome and feel free to ask questions if you like, you know. So it was a very accurate throw, right? And that's what was amusing because they used a professional knife thrower for the actual, exhibit, and he couldn't make that knife stick every single time. Those knives were bouncing off the pig. They were not going in at an angle. Like it was rough. So for her to do a one shot and get that perfect shot at that angle, she'd have to be a she would have to be a professional. Like the whole exhibit was, well, shall I use the word humorous? You know, the Rocky Couch says, "Send help." She doesn't let us out. Are you meaning the Mons? Thanks, and thanks, Couch. I see you're in two places in show too. Thank you for doing multiple sites because we are live here on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube all at once. Yeah. Oh, but he was bent over trying to show when Roy pulled the trigger, but they never found the bullet hole. Thanks, Benny. Oh, thank you. I should have read that myself before I put it up because I'm thinking it has to do more about the case. But all right, so if there's no questions, we'll move on to the next one. We got quite a few tonight to cover, actually. So we're the next one. Oh, this is not one we have covered from the start, but I felt like I had to because of the misinformation that is going on with this. Okay. A lot of people, a lot of news organizations actually, and other channels on the socials have been saying that Justin Baldoni has lost his case against Blake Lively. Remember, there's two cases: the one that Blake Lively filed against the organizations in him, and then the one he countered for defamation and everything against her. And well, right now, or within the last few days, there's been a lot of circulation that he lost and the judge dismissed everything and it's over. Well, first of all, when a judge dismisses a case based on filings or whatever, he can do it two ways: one where you can file again and one where you can't. And well, this judge is allowing him to appeal it within 30 days, the dismissal. So it can be brought forward again. And it's not that it was just dismissed, okay? The the October 31st order wasn't declaring that Baldoni missed the deadline and therefore lost. It was entering the final judgment on the matter, as well as for Lively's attorney fees question, which was left open because this case was actually dismissed in the summer. Okay, ironically, it actually means that Baldoni, if he so chooses, because the judge did the final order, can still appeal the dismissal, which would mean he continues fighting. Okay. Now, he was looking to get $400 million from Blake Lively for the damages to his reputation, the movie proceeds he would have made, everything else in regards to his company because of her suit. Okay. Now, several news organizations, even channels, have been posting on that it's over. But I will give a nod to Legal Bites, an attorney on YouTube. She has her channel Legal Bites, Bytes. And she actually straightened it out. People are just not reading the order properly. They're not like following the timeline. And she gets a little annoyed, as I do, when people misrepresent the facts. So I figured I would just mention it because there is so much misinformation out there, you know. Um, the highlighted, like, they I'm going to give you, if you're on X, you'll be able to go uh to her channel and see the actual highlighted portions of the documents that she says actually clearly say something totally different than what these people are saying. Okay. um oh, did it not? Okay, here it goes. uh there we go. That is Legal Bites posting in regards to it. But basically, Blake Lively's case is still on. The only thing left open is in regards to attorney fees right now on Baldoni's side of the case, his countersuit, and whether or not his attorneys have come forward and said they are appealing the final judgment, and and whether they're going to refile or not, I'm not sure. But there's been a lot back and forth about text messages and stuff like that that have gone through. And there's been some things on the Lively side that has been very damaging to a lot of people who aren't even involved in this case in regards to exposing DMs and text messages and invasion of privacy. I mean, I know people want to win and they're fighting to win a case, but there's been some things that have gone out there. Um, it doesn't mean that it does mean that the case is dismissed for now, but it doesn't mean it can't be refiled. And it's also dismissed. It does the final order that was put in for Lively and for attorney fees and the other orders in regards to it doesn't mean that it can't be appealed, which it is. And it's just a matter of straightening out the information because somebody, I mean, a lot of people are just out there saying he lost, it's over, Blake Lively won. No, Lively's lawsuit is still running. There is no judgment, and there's no settlement in that lawsuit at all. It's only on the Baldoni side. It was the countersuit for defamation and loss of income, etc. And that actually happened in the summer. Like, this was just on October 31st was just a final ruling from the judge at the final to seal the case, because there were things left undone, like the request for attorney fees and all, like from the other side and etc., that had to be addressed. So just to straighten that all out, that was a short one. She was going to have an affair or did get caught and cried wolf, allegedly. I don't know. I just know because, like, I agree with Grace. Who would have an affair on Ryan Reynolds? Like, seriously. Like, I don't know. Like, I know that big heads were involved. There were meetings about the conditions on the set. There were more people involved than Blake Lively, who actually to um spoke to the production company, spoke to the you know the I think it was HBO. Is it HBO or Sony? Whoever it was, they came in with HR and had a whole meeting, and her demands were met about being like some kind of environment that was going on. And if people really feel that they're working in a environment of hostility, like it could, I mean, it's easy to have an all boys club or an all girls club or a clique. Like, it's easy. Um, but yeah, I kind of agree with Jean. This one sounds like egos, wall to wall egos. And that's why I didn't cover it A to Z. And the only reason I'm mentioning it is to clear up the misrepresentation is going out there. And I did get quite a few messages in regards to it on what was going on. So I thought it was worth mentioning to all of you out there just to straighten it out because there seemed to be a bit of confusion about that part. But again, shout out to Legal Bites for keeping it straight. In like, we don't always agree on everything. Like, she'll be on this side or that side, but I will say that when it comes to the legal representation, she's always like spot on and fair, and she likes keeping the information clean, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I am shouting out a lot of those that are doing it this lately because they're becoming fewer and far rarer. You're like, and I think you guys should know about them. I do. Yeah. Wall to wall egos. No, it was egos, but egos do sound good. I mean, who doesn't like a lovely waffle? Seriously. All right. No, we don't have waffles, but we do have the Ellen Green case. In this one really hurts me a little bit because, well, the reason that this one hurts me is there was a race for district attorney in Philadelphia. We know that in the Ellen Greenberg case, there are so many stab wounds. If you're not aware, this case is like 15 years old. Okay. And there were 20 stab wounds plus, some of them behind the head in the back. And yet it was ruled a suicide. Um, the only one who was there on the scene was her fiance. Um, there was testimony given by the fiance and uh, through an uncle of her being suicidal. Long story short, at first the ME said homicide, and then within weeks it was changed to suicide. The family has fought for it to be changed back from suicide, knowing that she wouldn't do that. She was under treatment. She was in the middle. The scene itself had a fruit salad being made. I don't see somebody getting so desperate to kill themselves in the middle of making a fruit salad that they stabbed themselves more than 20 times, and so creatively in the back of the neck, in the back too, all those times. There's a lot. There's a lot about this case that doesn't ring true. But what really is heartbreaking is this parents, Ellen Greenberg's parents, the Greenbergs fighting for justice all along. We know that the case can't be prosecuted. The case, well, the scene was cleaned up within days because it was ruled a suicide. There is no evidence. No evidence was saved. The electronics were taken over by family members of the fiance before being turned into anybody. There is no real evidence to point to anything. There be no justice in this case or anybody to be prosecuted, even if it does get changed over to homicide and that she didn't do it by her own hands. But for the family's peace of mind, all they've been fighting for is to get the death certificate changed. There was ordered by a judge to be another investigation, which was held by the same city ME's office and all, with the same information, and then ruled again that it was suicide, even though things were submitted from other forensics medical examiners who said that those wounds were most likely not by themselves. It would be very difficult to do, but still ruled it as a suicide and saw no reason to change it, which was another defeat, unfortunately, for the Greenbergs in their search to have peace for Ellen to lay this to rest. Now, there was, there was, like I said, on Trust, I thought I hit it up here, but I gotta find it again. Um, uh, Ellen Greenberg. Hold on. Okay, here we go. There, there was a Judge Pat Dugan who was running for district attorney against the district attorney in the area that was actually, handling everything in regards to the Greenberg case right now. He'd been there for quite a while in his position. And that was Larry Krasner. Okay. He was the district attorney there. Now, Judge Pat Dugan had made quite the post in regards to the Ellen Greenberg case, and he had said to the Greenberg family that he would actually open up an investigation. He actually used this as part of his platform to say that it was the most ridiculous thing he saw happen in so long, and that the family still, deserved justice, and all of that. And it was very heartwarming, and there was a little bit of hope out there, you know, for the Greenbergs, at the time. And what he did use it on his platform to push back. But unfortunately, well, I don't know who's the right man for the job, but I will tell you that George Pat Dugan did not get voted in as DA. As a matter of fact, Larry Krasner got 75% of the vote. And, well, so he is still the district attorney in the area. Okay. Um, it's unfortunate because we were looking for a new the family is looking for a new investigation that could prove that there is something going on, as why they will not come forward and say that Ellen Greenberg did not actually kill herself, that it was by some other means, um in well, it I feel for the family because I'm sure they got their hopes up a little bit, or thinking that maybe something would change. Hopefully, some new eyes on it. That was my hope. New eyes on there will actually, help get everything changed, or at least get an independent outside investigation that can actually look at things independently, so that the family could actually rest in peace that everything that has been done, everything that can be done, has been done. Um, it's been going on so long, they're still fighting. They had a civil suit against many of the players in the city of Philadelphia itself. You know, um, it's it's just unfortunate, and I only mention it because, well, you know, it was nice that he put it out there. It was nice to read that somebody actually in an official capacity, this is a judge, actually thought that there was something wrong also in this case, who's actually from Philadelphia, in speaking publicly about it without worrying about retribution, because there seems to be a lot of hiding behind, well, it's over and done, and let's not talk about this anymore. You're just, bringing things up, you know. Brian Anton rather covered this, um, and that was good. He did a little bit of a thing on it, hoping that, could a new DA get justice for the Greenbergs? That candidate, Judge Dugan actually did say that he would. Um, he said that there would be a priority for him. Um, in For those of you that have X, here was his uh here was his statement on it and his commitment to the families. But as it stands now, it doesn't look like it's going to be changed anytime soon. You know. Yes, I really yes, Mippet, I hear you. It's so bad because they just like they didn't preserve enough, and everything was just messed up from the start because of that immediate ruling of suicide. There were no detectives actually assigned to the case. There was no further investigation. It was like closed before it even opened. Um, and based on only the statements of Sam, her, and I understand that he may, he's guilty. He's not guilty, rather. Sorry. He's not to be considered guilty of anything at this point. They never investigated, they never pointed it, they never charged. It's just the information that he gave. But there was many um, statements that were incorrect in the police report that actual video evidence contradicts. One of them being that the um, the concierge, or actually the security for the front desk, was with him when he busted open the door to get inside, because apparently Ellen had locked it from the inside. That he was there and witnessed it. That was in a police report. Who told them that? Whoever told them that, it was not true. And the police didn't verify it or anything. And there was actually video evidence and the statement of the security guard. They're not allowed to leave the desk. And video evidence says he wasn't with him and didn't leave the desk at the point of the door being busted open. Sam was alone. Why do you have to lie? I mean, little things like this, little lies and little references and things that were ignored right from the start. All the information coming from only one side. You know, the Greenbergs weren't even approached. Um, it's just a really hard story. There's a documentary on it that we watched that was very informative, but I just wanted to mention again, you know, um, appreciating the fact that somebody was willing to look into it, but currently will not have that opportunity. But maybe Da Krasner, since he won, maybe hearing the outcry from people and how much they wanted it, maybe he will look. But I don't think so. Since he got 75% of the vote, I don't think he'll think the voices are loud enough for it, to stir things up. And that's unfortunate. And I really feel for the Greenberg family at this point. They just want the death certificate changed, um, so they can rest. You know, they just feel they need to keep speaking for Ellen and fighting for it. And I really feel for them. It's been a long road. Well, at this point, I don't know. Their options are to further press to sue and hoping that that will lead to an investigation, a separate investigation. But like at this point, 15 years later, what is that going to do? you know, at least have outside of the Philadelphia city, outside of that area, anybody that can be influenced, look at all of the ME reports and everything that was done, the autopsy, all the videos, all of the affidavits, everything, and come up with a separate conclusion, like, of their own. Someone who is completely outside the realm, that it wasn't hired by this one or hired by that one, who could not be influenced by anyone within Philadelphia, so to speak. Because at this point, it does look like there's a lot of stuff going on. Or at least if it isn't now, there definitely was then. And it's kind of snowballed into something that shouldn't be. Well, that's just my humble opinion on the whole thing. It really has. It really has. The minute they walked in the door, everything was done wrong. The parents get a life sentence of grief, and he got a new family and continuing. Yes, he did. Yes, it's only one side has been able to move on. You know, I hear you, Mippet. It's very sad. Mm. And from sad, we go to ridiculous. Okay, and this one's going to be brief. I'm just going to straighten out some information that's going on. We know that Andrew Tate had filed a civil lawsuit in the state of Florida against the main complainer who started his suit in Romania by, telling her parents, and then her parents got somebody involved and they reported it to the embassy and yada, yada, yada. Romanian charges. Here we go. Started the investigation. He filed suit to try to shut her up with defamation and blah, 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 blah. Okay. She went ahead because of things that were going on in the state of Florida. She was being intimidated by third parties that she says were sent by Andrew Tate. So she filed defamation, harassment, and all this other countersuit in the state of Florida. Well, recently there's been a ruling in her countersuit where the judge says where there wasn't enough there for defamation. He was talking about, you know, his case, against her, and there were things that she did say. He just dismissed her countersuit, almost all of it, under certain rules of evidence, and then actually said that she could refile. So it's not like totally out. She can refile, and it is only the countersuit. But everyone out there in Tate world is saying that Tate won the Florida case and there's no charges against him. There's no charges against him anywhere. And that he's never been convicted of anything because apparently they have short term memory or amnesia. Because I do believe in the UK, he's already been convicted of tax fraud and had millions of dollars absconded back to England. Okay. I do believe there was an investigation and charges raised against him in England for quite a few victims, to where there is an extradition order in Romania that as soon as everything's cleared up in Romania, he will be sent to UK for charges. They didn't drop any charges against him. None of the charges against Andrew Tate have been dropped. A civil lawsuit for defamation has been dismissed on the grounds of not having enough evidence to assert certain claims and can be refiled. What no charges have been dropped. Has he been convicted of the charges, the most serious charges laid against him and his brother Tristan? No, that is true. He has not been convicted in Romania or in the UK for the allegations of human trafficking and assault, numerous other things, money laundering, or anything, all of this other stuff that we've heard about. It is true that those have not come to trial yet on either continent, okay, in either country rather. In Romania, we're still waiting. Everything was sent back to the prosecution, so to speak, to be the first charges, the first set of charges, to be re indicted. But the second indictment still stands. He is still under judicial control. He had to be released from house arrest because in Romania, you can be under restriction for house arrest for only so much time before trial. And because of things that are going on politically, with the changing of the guard in the, like, there's lots of delays in almost every case in Romania, not just the Tates. Multiple delays everywhere. But nothing's been dismissed. Nothing. Nothing's been kicked. Nothing. In the UK, those charges have not been dismissed. There's also a civil suit going on in the UK. I haven't been following it that much, so I can't tell you if any of that's been dismissed, but that's a civil suit, not a charge for a crime. So they're not talking apples to apples. And I just want to keep it straight. I don't want to sit here and bash them, like, well, it's an outright lie to say that he's not facing criminal charges in two countries. Because, yes, let me be very clear, Andrew and Tristan Tate are facing multiple criminal charges in the country of Romania and in the UK. Okay, I've cleared that up. I know it. I know, guys, but I had to. I can't stand seeing all that misinformation out there. I know you really hate hearing about these two. Well, we're going to have to keep following it until it's done. Until it's done. All right. You ready to move on? You want them off the screen? I shall agree and remove them. Oh, why did my picture disappear here? Okay, hold a second. Let me just bring this down for a second. I had a nice the picture of the victims just disappeared and I have no idea why. Okay. Um why is their picture not showing? Okay, there we go. Uh, let's see. Once in a while Canva gives me a heart attack, and that was one of them, where it just didn't show properly. Okay, there we go. I wanted to talk about the Butler and Veronica and Jillian's case here. Um, Veronica Butler uh, and Jillian Kelley. This is the Kansas moms on the border of Oklahoma. This was a terrible case. What happened to them should happen to no one. Veronica Butler. Oh my God, I can't even imagine what she went through for the last couple of years at the hands of her the father of her children's mother, Tiffany Adams, who has pled guilty to the crimes. If you're not all familiar, these two women were murdered on their way to pick up the children for a supervised visit. Veronica Butler's children were being taken care of by Tiffany Adams. Her son is their father. His son did not have actual physical custody at the time, shared custody. Tiffany Adams even tried to get custody from him. She was trying to wrangle the children away from Veronica Butler for some time, and she was using uh, all of her prestige and wherewithal in the county. She was very well known. She was feared. Her and her posse here, Ted Collum and Cole and Cora Trombley and Paul Grice, um, had a political alignment with each other, believed in all the same things. And Tiffany Adams went out of her way to convince each of them that Veronica Butler was assaulting the children, um, and that they were in danger. And so they were hijacked on the trip. Jillian Kelley was substituting for the regular supervisor of visits who went with Veronica Butler. That was arranged by Tiffany Adams. She had the other one not be available. Um, Jillian Kelley lost her life for doing good for the community and for others. It's a horrendous, horrific actual crime. Veronica Butler suffered after turning her life around, providing for her children, getting a good job, providing a home, fighting for the custody of her children, just to see them. It wasn't that she didn't want to share it with the father. She wanted to be part of their lives. It's a horrible case. The update on it is that Tiffany Adams pled guilty earlier this month, in that to January of 2026 she will be arraigned and sentenced. The update on the other four is all a little bit different for each one. So we'll just take them side by side because they had a hearing today also. Okay. Um, Tad Cullum entered a not guilty plea. Okay. Formally. Okay, there's been some back and forth. He has had hearings before that we have actually talked about. But Tad Cullum, who was Tiffany Adams' main um accomplice, was her partner in crime and other things. A very scary man, a very violent man with a horrible reputation throughout the county. He pled not guilty, and he has a jury trial set for June 1st of 2026. Um, Prosecutors previously filed notice that they will be seeking the death penalty for Tad Cullum if he fights this. Okay. Cole Twombly actually stood mute in the court entered for him a not guilty plea on his behalf. He has a jury trial set for October 19th of 2026. Prosecutors are also seeking the death penalty against Cole Twombly. Cora Twombly has an individual plea arrangement that she made prior in place, and her next appearance is noted to be for August of 2026. No plea was entered in court today as of the local hearing, although it was said to include Cora Twombly. But she does have an individual plea agreement, and we do believe she pled guilty and has a set amount of time to be served, and that she will probably be testifying against Cole and Tad. Now, Paul Grice He also has an individual agreement in place, and he also has his next appearance set for August of 2026. Okay, for actual the sentencing and what he will serve. Both Cora and Paul are still behind bars, of course. Okay, Tad is also. So is Cole. So so is Tiffany Adams. Nobody's getting out. This is horrible. It does look like there will be a trial for Tad and Cole. There will be no trial for Tiffany, Cora, or Paul. Tiffany Adams' plea arrangement has not been publicly put out, of course, but according to the indictment in the affidavits that have been submitted, it seems like Tiffany Adams was the ringleader and has the most information, the most damaging information against all four parties. So, in order for her to get her best sentence, it does seem likely that she would be testifying about anybody who has a trial or even in sentencing for Cora and Paul. Well, we shall see. There's more to come on that. A very, very grim case, and we've been waiting for updates, okay? During the hearing today, they also handled some housekeeping, so to speak. The court handled motions about returning certain personal items to the victims' families, and also about access to the defendant's jail calls and text. Defendants Callum, Ted Callum and Cole Twombly and Tiffany Adams will have access to others' jail call records for trial prep. They accept Cora and Grice. They will not. Okay. But January 23rd, 2026 is a motion and status hearing for both Cullum and Cole. If you want, and that, we're going to see what actually happens moving forward for those trial dates in 2026. It's going to be a long road until this is all closed up. They're not going to do the sentencing on Cora or Grice until the other three have been handled and the trials have come forth. They do have something scheduled for August, although they don't have Cole's trial scheduled till October. So I'm not sure what's going on there. You know, we'll we'll have to we'll have to see when it gets closer. Let me see if you guys have questions. Uh, we forgot to play yakety sax in the back room for Tate. Yeah, you know, that's just like ridiculous misinformation. When it comes to this case, the one with the Kansas moms for the Butler Kelley homicide, um, the information comes out a little slower, and it's when it first came out, it was absolutely like front news everywhere, and it's also just been taking a back seat, not as much. And I really want to see this play out for justice for these two women. I really do, and for all of their families, for the children, for everyone involved, for everyone who knew them and suffers their losses. For Veronica's sister, for um, for Gillian Kelly's husband and child, for the Butler children, in her family, in it's just so sad. What happened to them and how it was done was awful. It's a story of manipulation, tragedy, and just pure evilness. I mean, Tiffany Adams doing whatever she could to get her own way, threatening and intimidation. It's horrible. And the way that the Twombly's treated their adolescent daughter, she was 16, putting her in the middle of a crime on with full knowledge that she could be prosecuted also, giving her full knowledge of everything that went on. Well, she actually did the right thing, and it was her testimony that actually helped them get indicted. So, I mean, there's some good there. There's some good there. Well, to mess up your child that way, well, shame on you, Twombly's. Shame on you. Well, on that, let's hope that they do get the justice that they deserve. guilty verdicts all the way around. I can't see anybody finding them innocent. It would have to be some erroneous thing that happens during a trial or during the proceedings to get them to walk after everything that has been disclosed, in my humble opinion. Of course, they're all allegedly innocent, those going to trial, not the three that have pled, but the two, Tad Cullum and Cole Twomley. We will have to say allegedly until they go to the trial and they are convicted by a jury of their peers, which I have confidence based on the case that they will. Huh? Familiar face? A familiar face. I guess you're very surprised that we're talking about him, huh? Yeah? Hmm. Well, we're talking about Mr. Murdaugh because not only does he have his appeal still going in work, trying to get a retrial for his conviction for the murder of his wife and youngest son, Paul. But Alex Murdaugh is in the news right now because of a documentary that's out right now, or like a made for streaming series on Hulu called Murdaugh: Death in the Family, where the person on the other side, Jason Clark, plays Alex Murdaugh in this case. And it is all about Alex Murdaugh in his conviction. Alex Murdaugh being a prominent lawyer in South Carolina for years before his financial misdeeds became surfacing. And in 2023, he was convicted of murdering his wife and youngest son, Paul, in 2021, and also convicted of more than 20 financial crimes, which led to, I think, 118 charges in Italy and like an astronomical amount of indictments. Okay. Anyway, the Murdaugh story has been fictionalized, you know, mm, taking a lot of creative license, so to speak, in Hulu's Murdaugh: Death in the Family, which started premiering on October 15th. And well, Alex Murdaugh is very unhappy with how his family has been portrayed in Hulu's hit drama series. And on Tuesday, November 4th, the other day, Murdaugh's defense team, of course, attorneys Dick Hartpullian and Jim Griffin, remember them? They sent news organization or magazine, you know, people a statement on behalf of Alex after he had received reports about the recent Hulu program. Actually, Alex Murdaugh has not watched the program, but he states that he is deeply disappointed and disturbed by the recent Hulu streaming about him and the entire Murdaugh family. That the program contains numerous inaccuracies and misleading portrayals that distort the truth of their lives. Hmm. Well, he was convicted for the murders on June 7th of 2021. This disgraced attorney at that time made a frantic 911 call claiming that his wife Maggie and their youngest son Paul had been shot to death at their South Carolina hunting estate. Well, that is the beginning of what would become the undoing of the Murdaugh family dynasty, a family known for being in law, judges and lawyers. Murdaugh himself an attorney, and a district attorney, his father a judge in the law. Well known throughout the county for many, many, many years. He had a prestigious law practice. Uh, he's convicted of crimes that include stealing from everyone he knows: family, friends, all his partners, and his clients. Egregiously, even the clients he represented. Those he represented for wrongful injury suits, for wrongful death suits, including the wrongful death of his own housekeeper. Yeah, it's a horrible tale. And we've all been there, done that, right? And we followed the whole thing. But I just wanted to say, like, what audacity. You haven't even watched the show. And you're going to tell everybody that this is all wrong. Okay? that everything they're saying in the documentary is all misrepresented. And I'm sure that's coming from family members that are still pissed by being portrayed the way they're portrayed because Alex Murdaugh has dragged them all down with him. And I can understand that they're upset. Okay. Well, Alex was found guilty of this in March of 2023. Okay. And he was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. And then he got another 40 years on top of that for pleading guilty to 22 financial crimes. Judge Newman gave it to him, and rightly so. Judge Newman, even in the financial crimes, called them egregious. These are things, there's no doubt that Alex Murdaugh knew better. Well, he says that he is innocent and that he has done all the financial crimes and he's a lousy for all of that and he lied and he cheated. Well, he did not kill his wife and his son. He still maintains his innocence and he is currently appealing his conviction. But uh, anyway, if you're interested, Murdaugh Death in the Family is playing on Hulu now. It's like 5 episodes. It stars Jason Clarke as Alex and Patricia Arquette plays Maggie. And it does get, it's like a dramatization. There is going to be a little bit of fact in there and some things that came out in the court and in the filings, but most of it, I would say, has been sensationalized to play better for television. So I'm curious to see what you all will think about it if you do watch it. I do plan on perhaps maybe getting together and discussing it very soon in the Discord. So there we go. Okay. All right. So if I go back to the beginning, I did say that I would give you guys the opportunity to discuss a case of your choice if you like. Um so is there anything that any case that comes to mind that you want to discuss? We can look it up or I can tell you anything we already know about it. The only other thing that I had on is Kohberger. Just the fact that the hearing for restitution was today, and I can't believe the defense is fighting the restitution orders. I can't believe you get into, and the judge actually said this. Like, why did you enter into an agreement, a plea deal, if you're not going to honor it? Like he's a little bit like surprised that they're fighting this, and I'm actually a bit mortified that they're actually mentioning the fact that the families had GoFundMe's as if that makes his crime less and he doesn't owe them. Really? So what if they had GoFundMe's? What business is that of the convicted murderer? You pled to the murders. You agreed in a plea deal for restitution. I think that the attorneys for Brian Kohberger, and I'm sorry, Ann Taylor, I can't believe you did this. I'm actually shocked that you are trying to get him less restitution. Seriously, why? I mean, the chances of him being able to pay it is one thing, but apparently he thought he could if he got into the arrangement during the plea deal for it. Now, there might be something going on behind the scenes. I do know that his sister was doing some kind of book, is rumored, or something out there. And I don't know how that works. I don't think the family can be prevented from making money on the story. And I know the victims' families, they can't be prevented from doing it. Well, restitution is restitution, and the family has a right to claim it. And it was agreed in the plea deal. Like, so what the heck is this? Like, I'm telling you, when I tell you lately, true crime has really kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, like with the shenanigans that's going on. That's where I'm at. Like, my head is not in a good space lately. When we've got true crime channels crossing the lines, going real life, threatening each other back and forth, like with all kinds of stuff. Like, there's lies, there's manipulations, there's threats of going real life, calling people's employers, putting out their personal information, not even using common sense in redacting of information, streaming live hearings that actually say in the beginning of the live hearing, do not record and live stream this. Like, come on. It doesn't take much to just take a step back, take a breath. Who can get back in your lane? Get a grip. Y'all drinking the manical Kool-Aid lately. In it's really hard to watch, you know? It's not the way I do it. I know they're all going to handle their channels the way they do. People are going to do what they're going to do. And I don't mean to sound so judgmental, but it's really my disappointment and how disheartened I am lately. Like, But the one thing that encourages me that I am getting comments and I am getting some private messages that say to keep doing it the way I do it. And as long as I keep hearing that, I guess I will. That there are at least some of you out there. And I know some of you are watching and you may not like to get involved in the chat and things like that, but you are welcome. So please come and comment. Um, but be respectful. I don't like to bash other channels, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, but I am entitled to my opinion and how I feel, and I am rather disheartened lately by a lot of that's going on. When people that are running true crime channels and just mention a name either get a strike or get threatening emails or receive a C&D, is that really the way it should be? I mean, it never was like that before. It's like, what the heck is going on? Why does everybody feel so entitled to the fortune? Y'all going to grab that gold ring and you're knocking yourselves out. You really are. You're doing more damage to yourselves into the true crime community than anything else. And I hate to see it. I mean, there's quite a group that doesn't do it that way. I still am encouraged to see. Well, when I watch them get harassed and belittled and uh, fought against just for simply saying the true facts, well, it gets to be disheartening, you know. Anyway, that's it for me tonight. Thank you for joining me. Um, don't forget, if you do have another case that you want to discuss, or if there's any questions about anything that we did go over tonight, or anything that you want to bring up that I didn't actually hit on a case tonight, please hit the comments or send me a message. I try to answer everything, and that's what I'm here for. Like the interaction with all of you too. Um, to you know, and to try to stay in my lane, even though I will admit I had some pretty strong opinions about what's going on out there tonight. But hey, it has to be said. And I'm not trying to offend anybody, truly, but it has to be said. I mean, seriously, there's a lane for a reason. There are rules and guidelines for a reason, you know, and none of us have the right to interfere with anyone's right to a fair trial, no matter how you feel about it, no matter how guilty you think somebody is. You don't have that right because the accused has just as much as right to a fair trial as everyone has on the other side for justice, because that's real justice. That's our system. And until we change that system, you are obligated as an upstanding citizen to follow that system, in my humble opinion, and according to the law, in order. Anyway, thanks, guys. We'll see you all tomorrow for What the F Legal, where I have two even more bizarre cases to discuss with you, where I just can't hold back, as if tonight was holding back, but you know what I mean. So hopefully I will see you tomorrow. If it doesn't come off tomorrow for any reason, it will definitely come off Friday. But it's going to be 9 o'clock like this without any interruptions, hopefully. Um, I will see you then. Thanks again. Thank you to my mods. And I will see everybody again very soon. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And be well, everybody. And if you're out there driving, stay in your lane.